consumer of social media aren't on there to be displayed with adverts, are you? What happens to your business if you don't do that?
Yeah,
that's my first question. It's not what's your budget or what do you want to achieve. Let's just start off with, who is your customer? This is what your competitors are doing, and this is what you're doing. This is what their results are, and this is what your results are.
Yeah, right. If we're talking about brand positioning, we're actually talking about business positioning.
But I do think the whole thing's coming full circle again. And we're watching our magazine sales increase year on year. If I'm talking to, I don't know, a car dealership, well, they're the experts in their field and we're the experts in our field.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you're in the market, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in the market. This is why you're being displayed, that advert, by the way.
And it's the affected emotion that makes you make decisions.
But don't you find that it's everything in life is all about consistency?
Yeah.
Be consistent with your parenting. Be consistent in business.
Yeah.
Be consistent with your brand. To start talking to you about this is what you're going to need to be spending. Are you in a place to do that? And you know what? That is the hardest job I've ever had.
So explain to me, introduce yourself. For those that are watching, tell us who you are, where, and a little bit about you and a little bit about your journey. Go for it.
Yeah, okay. So Sam Helen, Sales Director for LOCALiQ, based in the South East. Obviously, LOCALiQ covers the whole of the UK.
So prior to that then, this was NewsQuest, right? And it's still part of... So
you've got NewsQuest. And I suppose you could say LOCALiQ is an extension of NewsQuest. So now what we look at NewsQuest being more of the editorial, the content side of the business.
Right.
And LOCALiQ is the commercial arm of the business.
Right.
Okay. Before it was all NewsQuest.
Yeah.
It changed to LOCALiQ when we made quite a significant investment in what we call DMS, digital marketing services. I'm not talking about display marketing. I'm talking about your search, your social, and SEO, which actually we've just won SEO Agency of the Year.
Oh, right, really?
We have.
Have you?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's something that we're really passionate about, actually, and something that businesses can't do without. All of the other stuff, it's a case of brand awareness, which we know is important. But SEO for me is top of the pile. Yeah. You got to have that.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah. See, the whole conversation about SEO, I think, is a really interesting one because we know this because when we're building content and websites and various other things, is that you can't. Some people see it because it's a long tail kind of strategy as opposed to an instant strategy. You're seeing a lot of people just not doing it. They'd rather place their budget somewhere else. And I can understand that. So what seems to have happened is for a lot of people, SEO seems to, it's sort of falling off the radar slightly.
Although I really feel it's coming back.
Do you? Right.
I do. But I think that, in fact, I know, unless you are talking to your clients about it and educating them, and that's a massive piece for me about educating clients. Anyone can go and sell anything, but it's really learning and understanding what it is your client needs. It's getting them to understand what they need through education, and then it's the importance, and it's not so much the fear of loss, but what happens to your business if you don't do that? Yeah,
interesting.
And that's the question. Yeah. And then suddenly you see the look on their face, the expression change, and you can tell that the cogs are going in their head and they're thinking, that's a bloody good point, actually. What would happen? Yeah. And then you talk about market share and you talk about their competitors, and then you go, look, this is kind of what the market's doing. This is what people are using the internet for. This is what your competitors are doing, and all you're doing is going, there you go, have my piece of the pie. Yeah, I'm just going to give it to you.
Yeah.
And why?
Yeah. So for the layman, anyone who might be watching this or listening to this, so SEO, let's just talk about SEO briefly, is so search engine optimization. Is it more than just keywords and phrases?
Oh, God. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, so look, sell it to me. Talk to me about what it is primarily.
So the way I look at it is Google is and Bing, even Bing.
Yeah.
Because obviously, whenever you buy a computer or a laptop, it normally comes with Microsoft.
Yeah.
And so that is their search facility, Bing.
Yeah.
But there's a different type of demographic, believe it or not, that's using Bing and using Google.
You're right, yeah.
So you need both. And Google, if you can imagine, this is the way I explain it.
Yeah.
Google are like little spiders. So
they
get their spiders out and they're going all over your website and they're critiquing. And they're putting all of the bad stuff in one box and all of the great stuff in another box.
Yeah.
That box is going to push you further down your Google ranking.
Yeah.
This box is going to push you further at the top.
Yeah.
And the aim is to get everything in that box.
Got you.
That's probably the simplest way I can explain it. And all of a sudden, you're not bombarding them with information overload. You're talking to them as in that simple stuff, because I could go into the technical elements of SEO, but really that comes after you've explained what it is and why they need it.
Yeah.
So then you demonstrate where they're ranking currently, and then you go into more of the complexities of what we need to do to push you further up.
Yeah.
And then once you're there, don't stop.
Yeah.
You have to keep going to maintain that position.
Because the assumption at which point is that you've now raised up in Google and you're taking some market share from someone else
100%.
who are going to respond, aren't they?
100%.
Yeah.
And people think that they can buy their way up there.
Yeah.
By PPC or search. Yes, you can. But then all of a sudden you've got this massive sponsored. And for me, and this is just a personal thing, this isn't everybody, because you might be completely differently. But whenever I'm searching on Google, I tend to go for the businesses that haven't got a massive, great sponsored at the top. Because I kind of go, well, you've obviously strategized in your business. You've obviously invested to get yourself up there organically, which is what SEO is, rather than page your way up there.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I do think there's a need for search.
Yeah.
But for me, SEO is the most important marketing strategy, or should be.
Yeah.
Your priority when it comes to your marketing strategy. And so you asked me a question, is it just about keywords? No, they're important, obviously. For example, I don't know, say you were searching Santa's Grotto in Essex.
Yeah.
You would have to make sure that you've obviously got Essex or individual towns in your website for you to then be pulled out of the massive pile of businesses to then be pushed further up to be displayed to the searcher. That's just an example. But you've also got all your backlinks.
Yeah.
Even something like Google My Business.
Yeah.
If you haven't claimed your Google My Business and you haven't kept that updated and you're not regularly updating your website.
Yeah. What's the point? Yeah.
Don't have one.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The Google My Business thing, I'll be honest, is something I've only really got to understand over the last couple of years. And it's amazing how many businesses haven't got that sorted.
I know.
And it's the lowest hanging fruit that they can possibly have.
Yeah. But do you know what's important about that? If Google, this is why it's so important to get an expert in. If you have got on your website, your address is, I don't know, say all lowercase, but your Google My Business is all uppercase.
You're right.
Google don't like it.
Right.
There's lack of consistency.
I didn't even know that. Yeah.
Lack of consistency.
Yeah.
So it comes down to even that finite detail that people don't understand, because you're not, you don't know. You know, if I'm talking to, I don't know, a car dealership, well, they're the experts in their field and we're the experts in our field.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you want to go and buy a car,
absolutely.
Not going to come to you, am I?
No. Well, no, definitely not. But don't come to me. No idea.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's understand a little bit more about your journey, you personally, because I think I've obviously known you now for, believe it or not, only 18 months. It's ridiculous. I feel like I've known you for literally my entire life. And I think that what drew me to you was you were, other than being thoroughly lovely, is that you had a great ability to sit down, because we met over a mutual client at the time. You introduced us to somebody. Thank you for that.
Pleasure.
And what I loved was you made things very simple. You made marketing very simple, because it can be a bit of a black art, can't it?
It can scare people.
Well, you've got two scenarios I always find with this. I think you've got a lot of people, three ultimately. You've got some people, some of our customers know enough about marketing to understand what we're talking about.
Which is a win, by the way.
Yeah.
Because they manage their own expectations. Because they understand it, they get it.
Yeah. Then you've got what I say is the devil and the angel, both ends. Well, in fact, they're two devils, actually. You've got people who don't know it at all. And then you've got, worse than that, the people who think they know it.
Yeah.
And we've all worked with clients that way as well. So, and I just think that you've got a great ability to simplify the purpose of marketing and thereby what the best solutions might be in marketing. So tell us about your journey and what you kind of learnt along the way, you know, little nuggets that have came along during the way where you just thought, I like this.
I think it comes down to, I think probably one of my strengths is being a people person. You know, you get the type of people that walk into a room and it feels warm. They've got a warm character, and they care. You get a sensation that they genuinely care.
Yeah.
So without blowing smoke up my backside, I'd say that that's probably me.
I would agree with that.
And it's really important that when you're talking to somebody about marketing or anything, that you make them feel comfortable about it, that you don't patronize, you don't scare.
Yeah.
You really take the time to understand about them as a client, about their business, and about their customer.
Yes.
Once you understand all of that, and the way you do that, you build trust and rapport. And that, for me, is the most important thing over and above everything else.
Totally agree.
If I don't think that a solution is right for a customer, I'm not just going to sell it to them. I won't do it. I will only, and I sadly, I don't sell anymore. That's the sad part of it. I don't, not in my role.
Right.
Our teams do that.
Yeah.
I still dabble.
Yeah.
Because I can't.
Well, that's how you started, right?
That's how I started. And that's where my passion really is. I love it. I love meeting people, talking to people and helping people. So I think, one of the questions I ask is, what does your customer look like?
Yeah.
That's my first question. It's not what's your budget or what do you want to achieve.
Yeah.
Let's just start off with, who is your customer? And sometimes I get, well, they're earning hundreds of thousands. They're living in wherever, you know, affluent, kids go to private school. I was like, okay, is that your customer or is that what you want your customer to be? And they're two totally different things. And all of a sudden you see the realization hit them and go, oh, crap, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
And so before I go any further, I'm like, right, I need to go away and do something, which I need to basically profile your data to tell you what your customer looks like, what your actual customer looks like, because like it or not, they're the ones you need to talk to because they're your bread and butter. They're the ones that have been keeping your business going for God knows how many years.
Yeah.
If you want to get to the customer that you're referring to, then that's a completely different strategy.
Yeah.
Which we can tackle, but right now,
that's a brand strategy.
Let's do this. That's your brand strategy.
Yeah,
absolutely. But let's look after the people that's been looking after you. Let's get to them. And so then we start to talk about that type of customer. We talk about their lifestyle, what they like to do, how they buy, how they purchase.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get into the real sort of granular detail about that particular customer type, that particular person, and align it to your business. And then all of a sudden your lovely marketing strategy begins.
Yeah.
And it's also, and with that, you've instantly got trust.
Yeah.
And I don't take that for granted.
I totally agree.
I really don't.
I think if you're asking the question about their customer, immediately you've got their best interest at heart.
100%. It's a lovely way of putting it. You have got their best interests at heart.
Immediately, haven't you?
Yeah.
Because really you're invested in the most crucial part of. Now it's interesting. So I recognise that as a business, you'll deal with people who are new to marketing versus those who are seasoned marketeers.
Yeah.
So talk about those two audiences. How you find those two audiences as a business, as LOCALiQ.
They're very different. And it comes down to investment, not in terms of monetary, but in terms of being invested themselves and believing in marketing.
Yeah, yeah.
If they don't believe in marketing, it's really, really difficult.
Yeah.
Because you've got a whole other job to do.
Yeah.
And that's when we come in with this all singing, all dancing campaign report, which will basically tell them what they're doing well and what they're not doing so well.
Right, okay.
And you kind of have to do that to go, well, actually, you can't, this is what your competitors are doing and this is what you're doing. This is what their results are and this is what your results are.
Yeah, right.
And it's not a case of we're telling them all of their competitors' marketing strategy. It's freedom of information. It's on a report.
Yeah.
This is what this is what they're investing in. This is how they understand marketing. Seasoned marketeers, you're both kind of, I'm the expert.
Yeah, they come with preconceived.
They do. And that's not wrong, because I'm not saying I've got all the answers. I certainly haven't. They will know more because they're the marketeer of that business. They have more information and more of an understanding about their brand and marketing than I ever do.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between marketing and there's a difference between marketing that message.
Gotcha.
We're here to market that message. They're there.
Yeah.
To tell us what that message is.
Yes.
And then sometimes we obviously have that conversation about what that message is because we've got other ideas as well.
Yeah.
And it's great because all of a sudden you see like you're batting it off against each other. And it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. But they're the ones that understand what to expect from a campaign, which is great because like you said at the start of this conversation, it doesn't happen overnight and it's a continuous. Others that don't necessarily understand it expect miracles overnight and it's really hard to manage.
Yeah, really hard.
So whenever my team see a customer, I'm like, the first thing you need to do is manage their expectations because all you'll do is you'll churn that customer.
Yeah,
You'll lose it.
Yeah.
And trust me, it's bloody hard. Yeah. It's really hard to get customers on board, especially in this market. So I would say, in answer to your question in a really long-winded way, the seasoned marketeers are easier to deal with because they manage their own expectations. The ones that aren't, everything. The ones that aren't are quite difficult. Not difficult, that's a real, but harder to manage because they probably haven't got as much budget. And these are normally the smaller businesses.
Gotcha, yeah.
And they're putting their life savings into it or they're putting a small amount of their profit into it, and it's more emotive. It's more of an emotive spend. And so it's even more important to manage their expectations because they're spending their own money in some cases.
I always find it interesting that when you're speaking to those businesses you just talk of, when even when you get all the excitement of talking to them about their customers and all those things, and I think knowing us, when you're talking to clients, you can see very quickly that they're like, okay, these people are going to be able to help us.
Yeah.
For some, then you start to talk about budgets and you see the literally the colour drained from their faces.
Yeah.
And all we're ever referencing is this is what other people are doing. Things have a budget, don't they? Advertising,
100%.
marketing, as by its very notion, has a budget associated to it. So I always find that quite interesting. If not, sometimes you just feel quite disheartened, or some where you think, in order for this. But then, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? If they don't have the budget to do some of the things that we're suggesting they should do, there has to be other ways, I guess, to grow their business.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually turn businesses away.
Yeah.
And that's where the trust element comes in. I would much rather say, do you know what? I can't help you.
Yeah.
Than take their money.
Yeah.
If they're going to force it on me, then I would.
Yes,
their decision. But ultimately, when we're talking about SEO, search, social, we say a minimum spend of $1,500 to $2,000 a month, no less than that.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And whoever's telling you it does, really doesn't.
No.
Don't get me wrong. As you progress, you could start to spend less.
Yeah.
But to get started, you can't do it on less than that. You really can't. And it's so important that when you're speaking to a customer and they're interested in what we call digital marketing services, that you get that across first and foremost.
Yeah.
I'm here to talk to you about your customer. That's obviously really important. But to start talking to you about this is what you're going to need to be spending. Are you in a place to do that?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not like the old yellow pages where they go, I'm coming to see you at 4:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Have you got all of the decision makers in that room, and do you have your checkbook?
Yeah.
It's not that.
Yeah.
But it's actually making sure that they understand what they need to invest.
Yeah.
Before we start.
So talk to me about all of the sides. As you said, you mentioned DMS. All of the sides of LOCALiQ.
Yeah, so we are the second biggest local news provider in the UK.
Right.
We acquired Archant, I think probably over 2 years ago now. Who owned a series of newspapers across Cambridge, Eastern Counties and other areas across the UK. But their main brand was their Life magazine, which really attracted us as a brand.
Yes.
And they did it well.
Yeah.
They did it really well. So we acquired Archant, which gave us even more coverage across the UK, which is obviously attractive to both local and national businesses.
Yeah.
So series of obviously newspapers. I think we've got about 160 titles, and obviously it's a lot, and their corresponding websites. We run business events, awards, very strong in the education sector, digital display, print display.
Yeah.
Obviously magazines I've mentioned, digital marketing services. You name it. We are the local brand.
Yeah.
To support your local brand.
Yeah.
And we're quite innovative in what we do.
Yeah.
We have a great guy that works for us, and he's head of our digital strategy.
Yeah.
His name's Morgan. And that guy, since he came on board, our CEO actually, Henry Ford Walker, brought him along with him.
Right.
And he's turned our business around in terms of digital.
Really?
The innovation and the solutions that we deliver to our local clients is second to none.
Yeah.
It really is. And I'll give you an example. We had a customer actually. One of our salespeople went to renew his campaign. He said, don't think I'm going to renew. I'm not sure it's done anything for us. And we were like, okay. So we got the report up. And it clearly showed the results for the customer, and you can see these peaks and these troughs. And he looked at it and he went, well, they look like the same peaks and troughs I've had in my business. So the salesperson went, well, it can't be coincidence, can it? And he went, no, I don't think it is. Carry on.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, this does work.
Yeah.
It really does work.
Yeah.
But I think the hardest part is every single business wants a return just like that.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily appreciate the amount of effort that goes into your brand and the awareness of your brand before you start to see that return.
Yeah. So let's continue this conversation, because you're sort of tapping into my psyche here about the whole brand awareness play. So what's your feeling on businesses that come to you and say, we're looking for some advertising to do some marketing of some description? And do you find yourself looking at a business once you understand, go back to your point, once you understand their audience, their current audience and what their proposition is, do you ever find yourself looking at that and saying, well, you're almost not advertising ready yet? It's an interesting discussion, isn't it? Because your job after all is to...
It's tricky because that's their brand. That's their business.
Yeah.
You know, it's like their child. It's like if I said, your child's dress is very nice, or I don't like your dog's lead. It's that, isn't it? There's no difference. It's theirs. You know, you gotta be really respectful. But at the same time, I wouldn't be doing my job. My team wouldn't be doing their job if we just allowed that to continue as it is. So to give you an example, our Life magazines we have what we call a playbook. So that's our brand.
Right.
And if you think we're bringing other brands into our brand.
Yeah.
And so we have, what's the term I'm looking for? We have standards.
Yeah.
You know, we have expectations. And we're not saying, right, you need to change your brand to align with ours. That's not what we're saying. But if you've got a brand there that's got massive red sales stickers with the, you know, the old zigzag.
The stars,
Stars, you know, and all that. It's a bit, not really, because that's not the type of brand that we are, and you are aligning yourself with that. If there's clearly got to be synergy between the two brands, because you want to get to the audience that we get to. That's why we're working together.
Right.
So there are times where we've had adverts come through and we look at it and we think, I don't know, I'll give you a bathroom ad. A bathroom ad could be a beautiful advert, just one image, brand, website, QR code, whatever it is that you need. Slogan, done.
Yeah.
But we get them through where you can tell that they've taken a picture themselves and they've shoved it on. Fine, that's fine. But actually, we'll redesign it for you.
Yeah.
But I can't really allow that advert to go in because it's not representing the wonderful brand that you are.
Yeah.
You're doing yourself an injustice.
Yeah, gotcha.
And also it's coming into our magazine and it needs to be of a certain quality and a certain standard.
Yeah.
Oh my God, having those conversations is really tricky because you don't want to offend anybody.
No.
Ultimately, all you're doing is trying to help them.
Yeah.
But we get a few customers that are offended by it.
Yeah.
And we have to make a decision whether it's going in or it's not, because we have our own brand to protect as well.
Yeah, but I find it interesting, and again, certainly if it's done in the right manner, at the end of the day, you are obligated to get them the best results as possible.
100%.
So if you're making them aware, I mean, obviously, as you know, Sam, this is what we do.
Yeah,
it's what
exactly.
we do. This is a conversation we're having every day with people, and I'm pleased to say we've manoeuvred ourselves that those conversations are never uncomfortable. No. They're quite the opposite. They are positive. They are.
But that's a skill in itself, isn't it, Lee?
I think
You've
so.
got to be able to have that conversation without offending the client. How do you do? I mean, I don't think it's easy. I think if you've got that relationship with that client, and if you've got that trust, that all-important trust that I keep referring back to, that's kind of it, right?
Yeah.
You're there. So what you're saying to them, they know you're not out to offend them.
Yeah.
They know you're not out to be difficult. They know you have their best interests at heart.
Yeah.
And like you say, ultimately we're responsible. They could turn around the next breath and go, I haven't got anything from that. And it's like, well, what are you trying to say?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
Yeah.
Because obviously we don't have to do that on a daily basis.
No.
You do.
Yeah.
Because you are in theory stripping their brand back and starting again in most cases.
Isn't it interesting? And it's obviously why we work together in fact, the first project we ever did was because of exactly this reason.
Yeah.
You know, they were a large business that were looking to do marketing activation, and you were like, I think we need to consider just realigning the brand message slightly. I mean, in the end, it ended up being a way
total
bigger
rebrand.
job. But funny enough, that conversation started a bigger conversation. And once you have that, I always find that, and I love the analogy you give about it being like their children. They are very passionate about their own brand. I get all of that. But I think when you position something in such a way that basically suggests that, I wonder if you might be, and you said it earlier, I wonder if you're underselling yourself. It is always a really easy thing for you to say. There's ways of basically coming at the matter without it sounding negative. In fact, it can only sound very, very, very positive. And I don't know if you remember the conversation we had with the client we're talking about. I remember saying to the CSO at the time, and you used this phrase earlier, you know, what's it worth to you? What if we don't do this? What's the and I don't know if you remember at the time. I said, well, how much is it going to cost? And I said, well, how much do you think it's worth? And he quickly understood what we were saying. That in actual fact, if you do this properly, if you do, in this instance, it was a complete rebrand, but it was an affirmation of who their audiences were. Comes back to what you were saying again. What we were really doing was saying is, do you want your marketing to be like really good? Do you want to be the market leader? Do you want to be seen as the market leader? But
it also helped Lee, didn't it? When they got a ridiculous quote. A ridiculous quote for just the new logo or something crazy like that. Because that's what people think it is. It's a logo.
Yeah.
It's not, is it? It's
no.
way more than that. So I think when you came in with, what do you think it's worth? And this is what it is. He was like, oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden it was a lot less than what this crazy man had quoted. But also he's getting a hell of a lot of value rather than just the logo, because your brand is not your logo.
No. Well, there you go. We talk about this all the time.
Yeah, we do.
So, but it comes down to positioning, and so coming back to LOCALiQ, or just good old fashioned advertising and marketing, brand awareness, the ability for your business or your product to connect with its audience, or as we're finding, audiences.
Yeah.
Let's get onto this little subject. This is quite interesting.
Before we do,
go on.
So I said to you, you know, how do you tackle that with customers about their brand? I suppose it's easier for you guys because that's what you do. So if they're coming to you, it's because they're already open to the fact that they've got to change.
Well, that's interesting. Yes.
Right.
But also slightly no, which is it's the perennial journey that we're on as a business, is that a great deal of the people come to us because they want a marketing deliverable.
Right.
So
not necessarily the brand.
I mean, we're obviously, I'm pleased to say we're becoming much known for our brand work. So we're picking a lot up because of that. But even now, what will happen is someone saying, you know, you get this all the time. We're looking for a new website, or we're looking to do a marketing campaign. We're looking for social media. We're looking to do some video work. We're looking for a brochure. We're looking for an event. Any deliverable, any outreach. And you know, our message has always been, well, we're really very good at all of that. Not only can we do it internally, we work with partners like LOCALiQ to help us execute these things. But can we just have a little look what we're playing with, what we're working with? You know, let's have a little look at what you've got. And in that moment, I think we're perfectly positioned to be able to say, look, to get you the best results you could possibly want, we think we need to do some work over in the brand space. Yeah. So we can really make... Now, here's the thing. You can't unhear that. If you're a business owner or you're a brand manager or whatever you are, you can't unhear somebody advising you that, look, if we do some work over in this space, then we think the thing you actually came to us for could be way more impactful, way more potent, better than you would ever dream. Maybe we won't even do the thing you came to us for.
Yeah, because actually, that's the hard part. And then all of a sudden, because that's so strong, all of your lovely marketing messages and those subliminal messages and your call to actions resonate with the client more because of your brand is so strong.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, I heard a phrase once from a dear friend of mine, and he just used this phrase, which is your brand working for you? And I love it.
Yeah.
Because if it's not, then you're having to do a lot of work just to keep your...
It's a lot.
So let's
it's a lot, isn't
it? The other thing is the education part that we play, and again, it plays through to advertising and marketing, is that we have to remind people that let's just replace the word brand. Mm-hmm. Most of the work we do historically has been B2B.
Yeah.
Let's remove the word brand. If I was a hypnotist, I'd be saying every time I say the word brand, I'm actually saying the word business.
Yeah.
So you need to hear it that way. So if we talk about brand strategy, we're actually talking about your business strategy. If we're talking about brand positioning, we're actually talking about business positioning. And if you can, and again, hopefully, if you're speaking to a client that can sort of, they can't unhear that, can they? No, then all of a sudden, if they get into that what we're then talking about is logic. Is so logical. You can't argue the logic.
No.
And if you do, then perhaps we're just not going to work together. You know, perhaps.
And it's okay to walk away.
Oh,
it's okay to walk away sometimes. It really is okay.
Yeah. So, okay, I've got a question for you because I think this is a really interesting one. Print media.
Yeah.
Is it dead or is it alive again?
Do you know what? It's a bit like online shopping. You either love it or you hate it. Or you're a bit of both.
Yeah.
But it's coming back full circle.
Yeah.
I think online shopping is not as enjoyable as maybe what it was once in a time. People want to actually feel and touch and try.
Yeah. I actually heard something the other day that almost blew my mind and it didn't. So I read an article where some young 16, 17, 18-year-olds said, do you know you can go to these places where you can walk in and try on the clothes, and if you don't like them, you can pick another colour or you can get a different size.
Better still, ask the lady,
someone
could
there,
you go and get that for me, the service.
This is not even made up. If you can, it makes sense, doesn't it? Because we've been so immersed in sort of online for such a long time now. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So, and in the same way as print media, I mean, I've got to be honest with you, you know, I love a leaflet. You know, I don't just, or a brochure. I got sent a brochure the other day. Someone was trying to get my attention and they got my attention.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I think there's a time and a place.
You
can't get away from the fact that you associate a tangible product with relaxation.
Right.
So for me, I'm on a screen all day.
Right.
My phone is there all day. I mean, literally, there are so many different ways people can get hold of me. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And because
overwhelming, almost.
It is though, isn't it? It's a bit like, I went through a stage where I just couldn't have my phone near me. I was like, just get it away from me.
Yeah.
Which actually, if my other half heard this, he'd go, that's absolute rubbish, but it's true. So I do think there's a time and a place for it. I think that because we're on screens a lot, I don't really want to shop on a screen.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place. Lying in bed, all of a sudden I go, oh God, I need more guinea pig hay, or something crazy because I've run out. Amazon
you've got a guinea pig, by the way, just to double check.
Yeah. I've got 2 guinea pigs for my sins. Although I think I love them more than my daughter does now. So, but I really do. And actually that was Amazon's strategy. You know that.
Right.
That they wanted to be the business where you're lying in bed.
Gotcha.
And you're suddenly thinking, I need.
Yeah.
And they go straight, and Amazon is the brand that you go to and they've nailed it.
Oh, haven't
they?
They
have nailed it. And that's exactly what they've done. And that's how I use Amazon.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's as I'm getting older, but I really appreciate my time to relax.
Yeah.
And I do that with a magazine.
Yeah.
And there's a demographic that love a newspaper. They still love a news because they've grown up with it.
Yeah.
And they can't, and they don't want to, and they refuse to get into that digital age.
Yeah.
So I think there's a place for print media.
Yeah.
And for different demographics and for different reasons. But I do think the whole thing's coming full circle again. And we're watching our magazine sales increase year on year.
Oh, really?
That's the point.
Yeah, right.
Because people appreciate their downtime, their relaxation.
Yeah.
More than anything, I think now, since maybe COVID, life's busy.
Yeah.
So I do, in answer to your question, there is definitely a place for printed media.
Yeah.
Still.
So,
but it depends on your marketing strategy.
Because
it's not for everyone.
No.
It's not for everyone. But if there's a demographic that you want to get to, then yes.
Yeah.
But equally, that brand is online. And we have more readers online than obviously what we do of the newspapers.
Yeah, right.
So that becomes more of a secondary value and the digital's more of a primary value.
So talk to us about the marketing mix then, because I think that LOCALiQ are able to do all of the above, aren't you?
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
And we're always saying to people, once again, to clients, really don't just do one thing.
No.
I know budget leads a lot of stuff here, but really and honestly, don't just do one thing. It really is about a good marketing mix. So explain how those discussions look when LOCALiQ are talking to clients.
So that comes down to finding out about the client, doesn't it? Again, everything goes back to their customer.
Yeah.
And how what their consumer does in terms of how they buy. That purchase funnel, as we call it, without getting into all the sales jargon. Because I really don't like the sales jargon. It's just, you can't, can you? It sounds cheesy.
Yeah.
But you can't get away from the fact that you have to understand about your customer.
Yeah.
And there's a Acorn profiling. We use that a lot. And it does give you all the detail about that particular customer type and how they purchase and what media they use.
Yeah.
So when we're talking to a client, that comes first and foremost. So then we can ascertain which media form is best for them. So we review their current marketing strategy. We go into detail about their customer, and then we decide what the best mix is. Yeah. It's not a case of predefined packages that we just go out.
No,
and
that's
sell.
interesting.
It's really not. 9 times out of 10, we sell more digital than we do print now.
Yeah.
Magazines put to one side because obviously that's a given.
Yeah.
They do both.
Yeah.
But in terms of newspaper, we find that they're using newspapers more for that promotion, sale event.
Yeah.
If that demographic isn't their main demographic, if that makes sense. They use that as a buffer to attract a new type of market.
Right, that's interesting.
But if that reader is their top demographic, then they do consistently advertise in newspapers with a smaller amount of digital.
Yeah. So
it depends. It all depends on the business and their client and their strategy.
Yeah. And do you, within LOCALiQ, is that dealt with by one team? How does it work? If you're...
Yeah, we've got a couple of types of teams actually, which from the outside world you look and you go, why are you doing that? But there's a reason.
Yeah.
So we have a team of people that we class as digital marketing consultants, digital advertising consultants, and they will come out and they will see you and have a face-to-face meeting.
Yeah.
And they are probably our bigger spending customers.
Right.
Who have time, money, understanding to invest. And then we have a team of salespeople that are in our hub, as we call it, and they're based in Basildon, so just up the road from here.
Oh, okay, right, yes.
And they deal with the one-man bands.
Yeah.
You know, your service providers, you know, your builders, your plumbers, etc. Ones that offer us the services that we all need. Yeah. And they go in the classified section, and then we have another team of people who are over the phone, and they deal with display advertisers, but ones that are lower spending. Yeah. That go, no, I don't need to see you face to face. So we make sure that we've got two types of teams. Yeah. That if a customer wants to see us face to face, we can facilitate that. And if they don't, then they're like, no, happy to talk to someone on the phone then. Yeah. Deal with those. So
you just mentioned, and again, for any of the people that are listening and watching, so display advertising, you know, again, layman's terms is what?
A display advert is an advert that you are trying to sell a product or a service. Yeah. And so that is, as you see, an advert in a magazine or a newspaper. Yeah. Or if you imagine, you know, your desktop screen. Yeah. It's got a lovely little fireplace around the top. Yeah. Display advert or a little box on the side, a little MPU. That's all your display advertising. Yeah. Display advertising can also be regarded as billboards.
Right. Yeah.
Out in the market. TV advertising. Everything's display. Yeah. Social is on your social media. Yeah. SEO is all of your backlinks and your keywords and basically what forms your website. And then your PPC, your search, is search terms. Yeah, so and then it will pull pull your website up to your ranking.
So social media. Now, I think this is just a thing I'd like to talk about, because I think it's a really interesting conversation about organic versus paid.
100%. So, because it's the paid we do.
Yeah, so talk to us about the paid stuff that you do for social media.
Yeah, I think when it comes to social media, you as a consumer of social media aren't on there to be displayed with adverts, are you? You're not. No. You're there.
No, if anything, you'd probably try to avoid that.
100%. Of course you are. In the most part. Absolutely, of course you are. But one type of marketing that's very clever with social media is called Facebook lead ads.
Yeah, okay.
And it doesn't disrupt your social session, your user session. So you're scrolling. All of a sudden, you get displayed with an advert.
Yeah, a bathroom advert.
A bathroom advert, and you're in the market. Believe it or not. Yeah. Oh, I'm in the market. This is why you're being displayed that advert, by the way. Find out more information here, or enter to win. Click on it. It pre-populates all of your details, submits it off, and you go back to where you've started. Yeah. So it doesn't disrupt your scrolling, your activity, your user journey on Facebook. It doesn't disrupt any of it. It's done that. Yeah. And then you can carry on as you are. Yeah. Powerful.
Yeah, really powerful.
Really powerful. From a user perspective, actually, I do need that information because I'm looking for a new bathroom right now. So it's done them some good. Yeah. From a business perspective, they've just got another bit of data. Yeah. That they can store, continue to market out to. Yeah. Probably even got a sale.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's different ways that you can use social media. Yeah. Obviously, you've got your reels, your carousel. These are all great, especially for shopping. Now, when I'm on social media, Facebook or Instagram, I love it when, I don't know, just say a local brand comes up. Yeah. And they're displaying all their lovely homemade products. And I'm just doing this the whole time. And I'm scrolling, not up,
Yeah,
I'm scrolling across.
Yeah, interesting.
Because of the carousel and all the different products. And I'm like, oh, I love that. Yeah. And I click. I probably shop more online because of social media.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's mainly to local. I love local brands. I love homemade brands, local artisans. The talent that we've got in our county is significant.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting,
There's a section actually we do in our Essex Life magazine called Local Legends. It's just full of independent local businesses. We did that in lockdown to help support them, and it's just continued. And we get a flurry of them coming in every single week, always different.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, and you're doing good there, aren't you? You're giving people a voice. And
well, that's our responsibility, is it not, in our market with the local media? It's our responsibility to support our local businesses.
Yeah, I love that.
That's what we're without. And I know it sounds cheesy, Lee, but without our local people and without our local businesses, we wouldn't be here, because we'd have no news to report on and we'd have no businesses to help grow.
I love that. Yeah. Sounds
cheesy, doesn't it?
Yeah, but isn't it lovely? Isn't it lovely?
It is. It's humbling, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it really is. So, okay, I think one of the things I also want to speak to you about is video. So here we are right now on a vodcast.
Yeah.
We know how important video is, because it's obviously something we do a lot of ourselves, however that might be done. In the space of advertising, what's the conversation around video and
I think there's a time and place.
Yeah.
You can't get away from the fact that the general public are consuming video more so than they ever have done.
Yeah.
YouTube's always been a big thing, but my God, it's massive.
Yeah.
Social. People don't spend time looking at static ads anymore, or static images that you and I have probably uploaded.
Yeah.
But they will watch a reel that we've pulled together.
Yeah.
They will watch a video that's been pulled together. You'd think of John Lewis's Christmas video.
Yeah.
Well, it's hit social media before it's probably hit the TV, hasn't it?
Literally, yeah.
And if you saw an advert for John Lewis, you wouldn't necessarily talk as much about it as what you would when you see their video of Christmas.
Yeah.
It's probably the best way I can describe it. The use of video and the fact that it is consuming. My son is on his phone constantly, as they all are, but all he's doing is watching videos, and it's not rubbish. No. He's actually learning so much. So I think there is such a positive to be had from social media, as well as obviously there's a lot of negatives. And there's a balance. But hell, if he's learning, I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he comes out with all this stuff, and I'm like, where did you hear that? He's like, YouTube.
Yeah.
Social media, video content. It's video content, and it's so powerful. And the best way I can describe this, Lee, is you and I have just worked recently on our business awards, haven't we? Thank you. Right. You're a wonderful sponsor.
No, well, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And normally, consumers or local businesses will submit their application for our business awards to be business person of the year or whatever it is. And it's all on paper. So you look at that as just your static display.
Yeah.
This year, we hosted a pre-awards network event, which obviously you came to. And the reason we did that is because some people aren't great at selling themselves on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Static ad.
Yeah.
Because that brand piece isn't there.
Yeah.
But they're much better at talking about their business.
Yeah.
And that passion really comes across as they're talking to their judge about their business. And that's what video does.
Yeah.
It's no different.
Yeah, and it's funny, isn't it? Because, I think we're all in the game of affecting an emotion, and it's the affected emotion that makes you make decisions, right? I mean, it's like the whole, what does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? As a whole, I can spend a day over a very large glass of wine with you on that conversation. I mean, we've known for as long as, God, this is the thing that's been said over literally the last century about recessions and marketing. And again, great conversation,
Consistency, Lee.
Yeah.
But don't you find that it's everything in life is all about consistency?
Yeah.
Be consistent with your parenting. Be consistent in business.
Yeah.
Be consistent with your brand.
Yeah.
Be consistent in everything that you do, but allow for innovation.
Yeah. So let me just ask you one final question, which is I always love this, which is really about you, Sam. What's your career kind of highlight? Was there a thing that happened where you went, boom?
Oh, God, what a question.
Pleased. Yeah, because it's weird, isn't it? There's a thing, and by the way, it could have been when you were 18 or it could have been when you were, last year when you were 28. So,
do you know what? It like you just said, it comes back to people. I love working with, I love people. Okay, so don't get me wrong, I like my own company. So if it's a toss up between a mass social event or sitting there with a glass of wine, or
in the bath,
in the bath,
back to bathrooms
again, then I'll probably take that. Because we talk to people all day, every day. Sometimes it's nice, and I think it's really important if you're comfortable with yourself. and in your own company.
I mean, I am too, actually. Funnily enough.
Then I think that you are comfortable around others, because you've got to like your own company, haven't you, to enjoy others.
I totally agree with that.
And when I left school, I did what most do, and I left school and did all right. God knows how. Winged it, fluked it, did all right. Didn't do brilliantly, but did all right. Went and did beauty therapy. And I was like, I went, why are you doing this? I said, I just remember you having a makeup party, Mum. I thought, that looks good. That's it.
Yeah.
Went and did that.
Yeah.
And I was doing these massages, and I'm not going to say where I worked or what I did, but an hour's massage. I used to come in, get yourself ready, etc., etc. And I used to really drag that out. And when I'd done the massage, I was resenting them.
Yeah.
Really resenting them, thinking I should be the one having this massage, So then I used to give them even longer to get ready at the end of it. So I cut the massage short. So naughty, isn't it? But because I didn't love it.
No, right.
I didn't love it.
No.
But I was better at selling the products.
Ah,
okay.
I gotcha.
Much better at selling the products. This is how I suddenly went, maybe I'm all right at this. So I didn't continue with the beauty therapy. And I was the one that really liked doing the waxing and the electrolysis, the sadistic treatments. So I was like, go on, have it. But not enjoying people having a nice time. God, it's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I really thought I need to be this. So to cut a long story short, so, right, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to need to do something where I can earn myself some decent money so I can afford to be the one laying on that couch, having that massage and buying the products that this person's selling me that God knows are going to work or not, but she sold me the dream. And I fell into media. I fell into it.
How funny.
I know. And it was a company called MS Publications. And our sales director, our MD actually, it was MS Publications and Aceville. So our MD, Tony Phelps, I'll never forget him. He was a great guy. He had a series of his own publications, but they were specialist publications. But we were contracted in to sell the advertising in Reed's Almanac, which is a yachting almanac. So it's a yachtsman's Bible.
Right.
And I still believe it to this day as a yachtsman's Bible. And I loved it. And I was good at it. I was really good at it. They were the days where, that's all right, Mr. Customer, send me a business card. I'll have a look at your logo and I'll pull an advert together and I'll fax it back to you.
Oh, hilarious. Faxing.
Fag at your desk.
Yeah.
You used to go over to the offie on a Friday afternoon or chip in for a bottle of wine. They were the good days, weren't they? Good times.
They really were.
And and I was good at it to the point where one of my advertisers poached me. And he won an investment from Dragon's Den, and he was the first company to provide wireless internet access into marinas, and I was selling the digital adverts on their portal pages. Now, the digital adverts were just static ads that linked to a website. I mean, it was nothing like the service and what we provide and offer today. But I worked from home.
Yeah.
I hated it. I was young.
Yeah.
And I found myself high-fiving myself and looking in the mirror all the time. Not that I'm vain, but my boss said, it's because you're looking for company. I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is killing me. So I quit and then went into radio. And I loved it.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. And do you know what? The best advice I can give anyone, if you want to go into marketing or selling marketing or advertising, go and work for a radio company.
Yeah, I love
because they train their salespeople within an inch of their life and give you all of the skills and the soft skills that you need to get on in life.
Yeah.
And they taught me how to be a real consultant, a consultative salesperson.
I love that.
And then my old boss was working for NewsQuest. She'd left radio and went to newspapers, believe it or not. She went, you got to come work here. You got to come work for me. And I turned my MD down.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Because he offered me a Vauxhall Vectra as my company car. Yeah. And I went, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So I went back to Hart, who were offering me BMW Series 1,
well,
X1. And I was like, how ridiculous and shallow is that?
Yeah.
Went back
I'd have done exactly the same, I might add.
Yeah, because I was young. I was young. And so I went to work for Hart, and I had a small team of people. I was like, this isn't enough for me. I need more.
Yeah.
I need more than this. So I went back to NewsQuest, my tail between my legs, and went, still got that job.
Yeah.
And you know what? That is the hardest job I've ever had.
Yeah.
Because I went into a world of newspapers which I didn't know.
Yeah.
But I had the soft skills.
Yeah.
And I had the people. And
I love that.
There are times where I used to phone a recruitment agency and get me the hell out of here.
Yeah.
This is hard. This is tough.
Yeah.
But my boss didn't give up on me.
Yeah.
And I was terrible at my job. I'm not going to lie. I was terrible.
Yeah.
Because I was so inexperienced.
Yeah.
But he did not give up on me, and he pushed and he pushed and he pushed, and he's still my MD to this day. And he's been loyal.
Yeah.
He's invested in me.
I love that. There's a lot to be said for that.
And I owe my career to that man.
Yeah. I think that's a wonderful thing, and really testament to placing the value in people, isn't it?
It is.
Which is, again, about connectivity. It's about...
I think it's about connectivity. I think it's about honesty.
Yeah.
I think it's about self-criticism.
Yeah.
And I think it's about being real with yourself.
Yeah.
I am my biggest critique. But not to the point where I do myself mental damage. But to the point where I've got awareness. I'm aware of my strengths and my weaknesses. I'm aware when I mess up, and I own it.
Yeah.
I own it. And I think that's why Mike respects me. Yeah. And I respect him, because he's no different.
Yeah.
And to get on in business, you have to be able to have self-awareness.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Look, Sam, thank you for being part of this MECast. It's an absolute pleasure. I love your company, love your enthusiasm. I think that whoever works at NewsQuest under your tenure is going to be well looked after. You know, the future looks really, really bright. So. And and obviously we're big advocates for LOCALiQ. So till next time.
Thank you very much.
An absolute pleasure.
An absolute pleasure too.